Hi, everybody, and welcome to our masterclass for engaging interactive virtual events. My name is Katrina. I am the head of training and virtual event enhancement here at Remo. I am coming to you from beautiful, sunny-ish, gray-ish with sun, San Diego, California. I'm looking at my windows right there. So.
And I am Tasneem. Oh, wait, sorry, Katrina, you have to talk about your favorite pizza first.
Pineapple all the way. 100% pineapple on the way, because I get bacon, I get pepperoni, I get pineapple, I get mushrooms and onions, but like on the really thin crust or a gluten-free crust, because calories. But and then like with lots of mozzarella cheese, that is my favorite, because you have to have the sweet to balance out the savory. Like you have to have it. Like otherwise it just gets too like I just need a little bit of sweet, because I have a sweet tooth in my palate. So that's me. Pineapple
100% me too as well. And for everyone that doesn't know me, I'm Taz or Tasneem. I'm the community experience coordinator here at Remo. So if you are a part of our Remo Revolution community, you might have seen me around there. And that is what I do here at Remo. And my favorite pizza has got to be classic good old margarita pizza, because I am basic and it's just got cheese and tomato sauce. And I mean, who really needs anything more than that? I'm coming to you from Hong Kong, so I apologize for the lighting. I'm still trying to work my angles the right way. I'm trying to figure that one out, but I apologize for the darkness. I'll try and fix that for the next time around.
That's all right. I'm just going to send you a ring light. We'll just get you like this. But okay, so if you guys can hear us, if we're coming in loud and clear, can you do me a big favor? Can you, for me, it's this way. I don't know. I may be mirrored on your thing, but if you can just put a little hello into the chat feature, into the general chat feature, just say hello, just so I can know that you're all coming through, that I can be heard, and that everyone, hello, everybody. I know we have a lot of Team Canada here. Dean, I know you're from Canada. Andy, UK. Jacob, were you on Team UK or Team Canada, or were you on Team Rest of the World? I couldn't remember where I saw you sitting, Jacob. I know, Greg, you're Team Canada. Andy's team, I don't know. Okay, Team Florida. So you are Team Rest of the World. Welcome, Jacoby. So sounds like we're coming in live and clear. One thing that we are going to ask is, if you have any questions during this, if you could please put them in the Q&A tab. So if you look to your right, there is a chat, a participants, and a Q&A tab. If you go ahead and put a question in there, I'm going to put is, why is the sky blue? Actually, I'm going to put, do you like blue? That's easier. So I'm going to ask a question. Do you like blue? And I would like everybody to go in and upvote. Do you like blue? So go into the Q&A, hit that upvote. But if you like green, I like green. You can go ahead and upvote the I like green. And I just gave you a poll. That is our very first interactive poll of the day. So do we like blue or do we like green? And I've just taught you as my guest how to go in and use the Q&A feature. Ta-da!
And this is why Katrina is the head of event enhancement and training. Thank you very much, Katrina.
And I'm on my first cup of coffee, guys. So it's starting to kick in. So the energy level is only going to rise from here. Be very afraid. So I like yellow. Okay, so now we have a dark horse. We have a yellow competitor. So again, this is a great way. What we're demonstrating right now is how to get your guests engaging with each other, engaging with you, engaging with your MC, engaging with your host, engaging with whomever is speaking. This is now got purple. Okay, guys. So we have engagement. We have engagement locked down. But to be honest, what I like to do and what Tasneem and I like to do is that we like to give you, we like to sneak the vegetables into the cake. So what we like to do is we like to give you guys the fun experience while you're learning at the same time, and you may not realize that you're learning. So everything that we did down in conversation mode, that was actually part of the masterclass. We were teaching you, as your perspective of a guest, how we, as a perspective of a host, are able to start that engagement and that discussion points. Because ideally, you as a host, especially if you're doing a networking event or if you're doing an event where people may not know each other or they haven't seen each other for a while, it's inherently awkward for a lot of people, and especially introverted people, to be able to just to walk up to somebody and start a conversation out of the blue. It can be awkward. So by asking some of those questions that Tasneem and I did, or to be fair, that Tasneem did, of an either or, I'm either this or I'm either that. Separating, it gets you to understand there's commonalities that you have with somebody that you may not have understood. And that is a jumping off icebreaker. So that's one question that we get a lot is like, what can we do for icebreakers? What can we do for fun icebreakers? That's a simple icebreaker that you can do without even needing to do a single whiteboard, without needing to do anything other than people come in, they read. The other thing that you might want to do is if it's your first time, you can just do a reminder. Okay, as a reminder, hover over an open seat at a table, double click and move. Are you Team Canada on the right? Are you rest of the world on the left? Hover over an open seat, double click and move now. And then everybody kind of figures it out. So again, just like we are giving you the education experience of how to use the platform while we're demonstrating some of these fun interactive things, that's the same thing that you can do is that you're going to have people who, no matter what, are coming into your event because they haven't read a single email, they haven't looked at a single video, and they're going to be trying to figure it out. So that's tip number one on how to get your folks engaged, how to get them interactive, how to get them start moving around, being comfortable while you're demonstrating some of the capabilities and features. So yeah, and Tasneem just answered it. Joanne is asking, how did you do that? Is the host the only one who can do this? The host is the only person that can do announcements. Another best practice is that whenever you make an announcement is if you cut the announcement and paste it into the chat. What happened to me a couple times is I was fiddling in a different tab and like the question came up and I clicked somewhere and it disappeared the question. And I'm like, Tasneem, where am I supposed to go to the left or to the right? If you paste it into the chat, people like me can go to the chat and see what I missed. So, but yeah, only the host can do that. Anybody, just like you demonstrated, can do the Q&A. But as a host, if you go to the Q&A session right now, you'll see my Do You Like Blue? Katrina has 5 votes. I, as the host, have a special little checkbox. I click that box and that question went away. Isn't purple the best? I click that, that goes away. So I can keep order to my Q&A and know which questions I've answered. And that way I can facilitate as well. So yeah, that is something that I as a host can do. Tasneem, do you want me to show, since I have the other tab open?
The announcement? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll show you really quickly how to do an announcement. I ran a job fair yesterday, so my day was all about announcements because with job fairs, it's different. I have a revolving door, so I don't have one point of entry, one time of entry where I can do this for the entire world and say, this is how you navigate through. It's a revolving door. People come when they want to come. So I had to do some creative things. One of the creative things that I did was my first floor, I don't have any employers. So I used the space. I changed every one of my tables to a tip about how to use Remo or where to find something. So this is zoom in and out with your mouse. Play the how-to video on the back wall. Okay, so the back wall. Private chat and an employer to share your resume. Turn on your mic and cam below. So I use this white space as another place of education, again, to get people a little bit more oriented and engaged. But to make an announcement, you just have your announcement tab. This is my announcement. Click announce now, confirm. You'll hear the ding. And then what I will do is I will copy and then I will paste into the general chat. Whoops. I will not accidentally hit somebody's email address. And then there you go. It's just like that. All right, and I'm going to let you take over, Tasneem, because I have to re-grab a link that I just overwrote. So sometimes if it looks like I'm like zoning off, I'm really just working in another tab. So I apologize.
All right. So interactive and activities. We kind of already went through this with the announcements and chat. So very quickly, like at the beginning of your event, you want to be posting welcome announcements for all your guests. So just to welcome them all into your event space. You can space them out at the beginning, roughly around 2 to 3 minutes, that you're not overwhelming them with a lot of different announcements. And that also ensures that people who come in a little bit late are still welcomed into your event. And in the introductory announcements, you can also tease a little bit about what your guests can actually expect. So perhaps you've got an exciting surprise during your event, or you just want to let them know that your presentations are going to start soon. And that way your guests really know what to expect next. And that way they're eagerly waiting the next portion of your event. And actually one tool that you can use to simplify this process, because especially when you've got a lot of different announcements that you need to plan and coordinate the timing of, you can also use Remo's run of show. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail over here, but if you'd like to know more about it, let me know and we can take you through it at the end of today's event. But essentially with the run of show, you can craft your announcement messages prior to your event even starting. So once your event actually starts, all you need to do is press one button and then bam, your announcement is sent, instead of having to copy and paste it from another document or think of the messages on the spot and click 3 times to send one message. Because if you're anything like me, I can't think of things in the thick of when everything is happening, because I cannot multitask that well. So I like to have them all crafted before the event even starts. And another thing that you can actually do with your announcement messages, since they are literally right in the middle of your guest screens, you can actually use them to invite your guests to complete certain actions, like, hey, turn on your microphone and camera, introduce yourself to the people on your table, check out the video that you've got on the back wall, look at your event sponsors, or just say hi in the general chat. And speaking of chat, the chat is kind of like a great way to start off your event on a really interactive note. You want to set the expectation pretty early on, and you want to set the idea or the concept that the general chat is one of the best ways for your guests to stay tuned into the action and comment on what they're hearing, especially when you're in presentation mode. Because in presentation mode as a guest, you don't have access to your camera and your microphone, and you can't continue those private conversations. So you want to get your guests into the habit of using that general chat as early as possible to communicate and interact with everybody in the event space. And actually one of the best ways that I've seen this happen is with one of the event hosts actually asking everyone to introduce themselves by saying hi and asking for like one personal but not too personal question, like where you're from, for example. That's always a great one to use. And then one completely random question, like your favorite pizza type or your favorite ice cream flavor. And it's kind of often that random question that gets people a lot more excited and tuned into your event, because it breaks the ice for a lot of your guests to find those similar kind of connections and those interests.
And that's again why we chose a couple of the questions that we did, because pineapple on pizza is very polarizing. That is something that people are definitely going to have an opinion about. So asking questions like that. The other thing is why I specifically, so in the very beginning, we looked and people were saying where they're coming from. So I got an idea that we have a lot of folks from Canada. They can fill up one side, and then the rest of the world is on the other side. So that is proximity networking. So that way we divided you guys out, like everybody who's in Canada, that's number one, a commonality. But number two, everybody else, so we could have even further segmented, like folks who are in the UK, folks who are in the US, because you may want a proximity network. You could also do it by what's your typical use case or case use, depending where you are in the world. Do you pronounce it as GIF or do you pronounce it as GIF? These are things that are very polarizing, but also, number one, depending on what your reason for doing this is it just to have fun, or is it to build connections? How are the ways that you are going to build connections specific to your guests, because you know your demographics and what they're there for, and you have an idea about what is going to motivate them to keep these connections going after your event is done?
100%. I'm always looking for kind of like those polarizing statements and keeping them kind of in my back pocket. So whenever we are running events, I have them handy, ready to go. We can just throw in quick questions into that general chat or ask them like in presentation mode as well, and have people vote for them in the Q&A.
And might I say safe polarizing questions? There are polarizing questions and there are safe Polarizing questions.
Very
Pineapple on
good.
pizza, is it heated? But is it safe heated?
Yes, never want to get too controversial or too polarizing in your virtual events. You do want to keep it a little bit lighthearted, but yeah.
Yeah, and Andy's in the comments right now. He said jam first or cream first in the UK is great, and I'm assuming we're talking about toast or tea. The only thing I would know polarizing around the world is cream in tea or cream not in tea. But again, that's a really great example of knowing your audience and knowing your demographic. Because I would have to follow up and be like, I don't know what that means, Andy. But for his demographic, you guys are going to know that instantly and be able to do it. So I love that example, Andy. I love it. Thank you for that.
That's definitely a good one. I've already put it down in my notes.
And then you guys can explain it to me afterwards, right?
Absolutely. And I just want to point out, because Katrina, you mentioned like one of the really, really great best practices. So I just want to highlight that really quickly as well, is with your announcement messages. And I forgot to do this at the beginning of the event as well. You always want to copy the announcements that you send and post them into the general chat again. So just because, like Katrina mentioned, if your guests are on a separate tab, if they're coming in a little bit late, they could miss certain announcements and certain messages. That's the picture.
And I'm ready about to do something very controversial too. That's a biscuit.
It's not a biscuit.
That is a very good, yummy Southern breakfast biscuit.
Exactly. And he's right. It's a scone. No. It's a scone or a scone, however you pronounce it. It's not a biscuit.
Safe polarizing. Safe polarizing.
Oh, man.
I think I just flustered half of our non-US folks right now with that. I'm sorry, Tasneem. I will sit back and do it now.
No. This is great. So yeah, so just always post the announcement messages that you're sending into the general chat as a safe backup as well. All right, next part is about a couple of icebreaker ideas. So icebreakers, great way to get your guests to start warming up, talking to more people, making connections during your event. And of course, the more connections they make, the more engaged they are, the more active they'll be during the rest of your event. And as a benefit or bonus, the more memorable your event becomes for them. So at the beginning of today's masterclass, we actually did play one of these icebreaker games, which was what I've called Agree or Disagree. So many names for it though. And that one's super simple. You just post some sort of a polarizing statement, a safe polarizing statement. You send that through the announcements. Everyone moves to either the left or right side, and depending on whether they agree or disagree. And that's like Katrina mentioned, it's a great way for guests to kind of meet other people who think alike, at least even in that little bit. And it's a great way for to give them some sort of a conversation starter, because oftentimes, at least for me as well, the hardest part about talking to people is you don't know where to start. And so it's a really helpful starter into a conversation. And of course, as a secondary benefit, one of the good parts of this game is that it actually get your guests actively clicking around your event space, moving around the event space, talking to one another. So they're not only learning how to use Remo, but they're also actually invested into your event, and they're actually making moves or making actions and physically moving around the space as well. And then another icebreaker idea is to change the table names to different discussion topics. That's as simple as you can kind of go. And depending on your audience, those topics could be event related or completely random, like countries or hobbies, anything to basically group people together. They can find the table or the topic that they're most interested in talking about. They can move to that table. They can meet other people who are interested in the same topic, start up a conversation as well.
And even with the agree or disagree, because you know what you're going to ask in advance. If you have two team members, while one person is queuing up the announcement, the second person can be in on the left side doing a couple tables for that move to the left. And the other person can be changing the table names for move to the right. As soon as those table names are set, you hit the announce, and that it gives your guests a visual clue of where they need to go, instead of just like, am I left enough? So again, that's something that we didn't do because I was really, to be honest, I was really engaged in talking with the people who were at my table, and I totally got distracted. So
that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, so there's also like the classic charades and Pictionary. I mean, everybody knows how to play these already. It requires such minimal setup on your part. You can use the whiteboard for Pictionary. Charades literally just needs everybody's cameras turned on. You can select a random word generator from online, and that's it. You're good to go. And that's like a super simple way, again, for your guests to start connection. And after, playing a really fun game, and I don't know about you, but I get really competitive with games as well. And I think a lot of people do. Um, After playing such a fun game like that, you're already pumped, ready for the rest of your event. I don't know, Katrina, do you think games at events are kind of a good way to set the tone of the event at the beginning?
I do, as long as it's appropriate to your event. And again, this is, again, going back to your very, very basics. Your very first questions that you should be asking yourself. What is the goal of my event? What do I want my demographic to come, my guests to come away with? And what demographics do they fall in, like generationally, what professionally, things like that. So to set the tone, like for a certain like really super serious conference or something, it's going to be a little bit of a different tone than it would be at, like a gala or an awards dinner. So really knowing what your goal is, but this could be a perfect way. The games are a perfect way, especially if it's a holiday party. If it's a fun celebration, if it's the first day of a conference and your folks are new to Remo, this is a great way to set the tone to be like, okay, for these first 10 minutes, we're just going to have fun. Do you want to have fun? Everybody wants to have fun. So we're going to get to the keynotes. We're going to get to everything, but we're going to set the tone this way. And again, like we said in the beginning, this is a great way for people to understand that they are learning the platform without realizing they're learning the platform. And I'm about to teach you all what a scone is. So sorry. I love that. I love this. This is why I love these classes. I can't find out where I just saved it to. I love these classes because, again, we are still actively up here talking and presenting to you guys, but we're still engaging inside the chat and the discussions are still going. You guys are paying attention to us. You're engaging with each other. So this, whenever you have your breaks built in, when you go back to conversation mode, you're going to have even more to talk about. And these are how fundamental basic relationships are built. For those of you guys who don't know, I lived in Moscow for 5 years, and they have this beautiful phrase, and the phrase is, do you know him? And what they respond back is, no, I've not yet drank with him. And the idea is that by having some basic interactions of having these things where we find commonalities, that's where these relationships are built. So they're not necessarily built around the board table. They're built on these small little interactions that we have where we really get to know people as real people, or we get to know them on a little bit more of a fundamental level. So with that, I will back out of my Russian history lesson.
I mean, kind of speaking of, do they know him? That kind of relates to one of my favorite games that I like playing. It takes a little bit more setup on your part, but it's one that is gives a whole lot of interaction during your events as well, is probably human bingo. So everyone's played bingo, but human bingo is all about guests jumping to different tables to find people that kind of check off the different statements, like find someone who's able to speak 2 languages, find someone who's wearing a yellow shirt, find someone who's born in January, etc. So there's like a whole lot of interaction for your guests there. But of course, it takes a little bit more coordination on planning on your part to kind of set that up, because you need to come up with all the cards and think of all the statements in advance. But that's a great one to have your guests, again, moving around the event space, physically jumping from table to table, meeting new people, understanding more about them, and actually trying to find the people that match these specific statements as well.
Yep. And I will say one thing specifically that I did, I was quarantined in August with a bunch of people that I didn't know, and we were not allowed to leave our hotel rooms. So I threw one of these together. And what I had asked in my registration was, send me one fun fact about you, or send me 3 fun facts about you, and I can pick that fun fact. And that way, with the human bingo that we did, I had six statements at a table. And people had to figure out by talking to each other who fit which one of those statements. Like one was, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. So I had Kilimanjaro on the whiteboard, and then I had a picture of Mount Kilimanjaro. And then one was, at 22, I've started 3 companies and I've already amassed over $1 million. So I'm like, okay, entrepreneur. I had a picture of an entrepreneur. So that way it's a take on that what's one thing that somebody doesn't know about you, or one fun fact that somebody wouldn't know about you by looking at you. And again, it gets right down to that deeper. So that's how I put something like that into practical use in a real life event. They're all scones. Okay, I'm done with the scones thing. I'm sorry, I promise.
I just needed to have the last word on that. I was just reading Matthew's comment as well. That's the thing. Some clients think that an active general chat takes away from the presentation focus. If that's a concern, you simply have a plan, insert relevant comments every so often in the text. Mm-hmm. Honestly, though, in our experience, it increases focus because people are already talking about what they're seeing themselves and make it less dry and cookie cutter. Absolutely love that. Could not agree more. Yes. All right, so there are a couple of other ideas on there, and we have a whole help article filled with ideas for icebreakers and opening activities. We can send the link for that one through as well. And if you have any more, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of ideas and fun things that you guys do at your events, let us know, and we will add them to the list as well. But in the meantime, let's move on to some tangible engagement and how you can get that with your guests. Because everybody likes a free cake, free gifts, free things. I know I do, and I love it when events give me free things as well. So that's why I wanted to throw this in there as a potential idea for some of your events as well. So the easiest one is, of course, food delivery. Yeah, so that's one of like the kind of easier options to coordinate food delivery for all of your guests. And that can be as simple as handing them a coupon for Uber Eats or whatever service is most popular in the country that your guests are in. Or you can even go down the much more intensive route of pre-selecting a menu and just arranging the delivery direct to all of your guests' houses as well. And then in your event, what better way for guests to interact with each other than by eating together? You're taking that common, easy action and just all having the same food together and just having like bonding over that kind of shared experience. And then another option is also beverage delivery. So it's the same idea, same principle as food delivery, but you can offer beverages, whether they're alcoholic or not. You can get coffee, you can get tea as well. You can also offer workshops like mixology sessions or tastings where your guests are all really tuned into kind of learning that concept or connecting over that shared experience. And actually, Katrina, you brought this idea up as well. And one group, like a great way to kind of engage everyone is to do a virtual toast with everyone at the same time. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that idea?
Yeah, so a virtual toast, again, if like not everybody has a budget, not everybody has their paid event, not everybody has the ability to send everything out, but most likely if people are in the work break room, if they are at their house, they are somewhere where they have a beverage close by. So you can time it and bring everyone together during the celebration of, okay, everybody, I want everybody to put your glasses up. And then you have more people up here on stage with you. So you can't get everybody, but you can get some key folks and everyone can participate together with, okay, I would just like to say I'm very excited to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of this entity. And together we're all just going to put a virtual toast. So salud. And then you toast and you can have people take photographs of them doing that, do screenshots of doing that. And we're going to talk about photo booths, but you can do some of those things and then share them with the event. So everybody, you can put a collage together of everyone doing the event itself. Another thing is if you are in the community, if you're not in the community, get in the community. If you're in the community, I'm putting a link to the recap that Alex Abel did. He hosted with us in May a virtual pizza party. So he has a recap of that. There is a service that he uses that will deliver pizza or they'll deliver beverages worldwide to everybody at the same time. Oh, did you already have that up there? I just jumped ahead of her. So this is the link to that pizza party. So where he explains that. Yeah, but they don't just do pizza. They'll do coffee and they'll do other kind of beverages. So if it's not a pizza sort of time for somebody, or you don't have pizza money in your budget, you may have some coffee money in your budget. It's all about the WIFM, the what's in it for me. WIFM is the #1 main motivator of what people can do. Is it going to give me something free? Is it going to save my time? Is it going to save my money? What is the impact to me personally? And that's what drives folks to want to come to your events. People are not going to do things out of the greater good for themselves or out of the greater good, or just because it's we are all pressed for time considerably. And so the more that you can incentivize a WIFM, even here in the United States right now, there's a lot of states who are incentivizing getting the vaccine by giving away millions of dollars. And there's a lot of private entities that are giving away free tickets to this or free tickets to that because, some folks are, wanting to take advantage of that. Same thing with the lottery. The lottery here in the United States makes so much money because the ability of having a payout, the thought of having that payout, there's a huge WIFM. Oh my God, Andy, that's hilarious. I would say that's probably either Colorado or Oregon, maybe. I don't know. So Andy says, I saw one state is giving away weed. That is definitely a huge WIFM to some people. But remember, the WIFM to some people is not going to be a WIFM for every person. So I would just be like, oh, okay, no, I'm good. I'm sorry, Tasneem, I just totally took over.
No. I mean, that's a huge point. Like, you need to understand where your audience is coming from. What would they want? What would incentivize them to come to the event and actually engage with everyone? So always keeping that at the back of your mind will also help you kind of decide what activities and what ideas you want to take forward for your own events as well. But just super quickly, like another idea, if you want to have physical, tangible things to send over, gift bags at the end of your event with event merchandise or your own company merchandise. It can be physical, like shirts, mugs, Jared's coffee mug, all of these other kind of physical, tangible things versus virtual coupons to like other software services or anything else online, like Amazon gift cards, things like that. So you can have a bunch of like a combination of the two. You can have one or the other. And it's just a nice little item that your guests can kind of remember your event by as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Katrina, I'm going to hand over to you so you can take on this.
Okay, so there are some different things that we're going to be showing you. We have 10 minutes, and I know that we're going to be going over a little bit because I talked about scones a little bit too much. I apologize. But there are some third-party applications that you can use to enhance your events. Things like polling or photo booths. But a couple years ago, I would have been like, QR codes are so passe. Nobody uses QR codes anymore. And then all of a sudden, Apple put QR code reader as hardware that came with their iPhones, and there was a resurgence of QR codes. And now with the pandemic, I don't know how it is in other countries, but a lot of the restaurants here in the United States have done away with menus, and they just have their menus online, and you have to scan the QR code that's on their table. Same thing that you can do here. So I am going to share my screen just for 1 second so I can demonstrate how to do this. And I hope I pull the right one. Okay, I did. So we're in Inception. I'm in Inception right now. So in order to be able to share a QR code with your guests, one thing that you can do is if somebody's here on the computer and they have their phone next to them and you need to use an offsite, what you can do is you can go into your profile. You're going to edit your profile picture. So make sure that you have the QR code already down to a 128 by 128. You can drag it so that the majority of it will fit inside the circle and hit save. So now my profile picture is updated to this QR code. And what I can do is I can turn off my camera. Can you guys all see the QR code? I think I have to refresh to be able to see it.
I see it.
Okay, so what I can do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I am going to talk about how we're going to go to this polling feature, or we're going to do something off-site. So here's the QR code. Get out your phones. Go ahead and scan it, and this will take you to the QR. Other applications are if you have a translator who is live translating or interpreting your event, and they're doing closed captions, and you have an off-site entity that's doing this. You can show this to your guests, and they can follow along on their mobile phone, because a lot of times it's easier for them to have that mobile phone instead of having a second tab up, especially since if you only have a single screen and you reduce down to see both things, Remo can then accidentally put your main screen into mobile mode, which brings a challenge. We do identify that that's happening, and we are working on it. Our engineers are looking at. Oh, go ahead, Taz.
Yeah, no, I was going to say we're working on it.
Yeah. So it's not clear enough to read. Okay, so let me, can we stop sharing screen for 1 second and see if it works better for Andy if it's bigger? I think it just needs to be bigger. Does that work? So I'm taking my Android. And this is just wherever this is going. I don't remember where this is going to take you to. I think it's going to take you to back to this event, but I'm not positive. But so this is what you can do is that you can close down and just have the QR code up, and then come back and say, for those of you whose QR code is not working, for those of you who are not with your phone right now, go ahead and this is the link that is going to. So you can have both options. So I'm going to turn my camera back on and invite Tasneem back up here. So that is one option about how you can keep people engaged and get them going into your next portion of things. And Taz has the next slide. So that's where I'm like, next portion of things.
Sorry. 1 sec. I'm getting the shared screen out again. That was not good English. Sorry. Okay.
So that's what you can do with QR codes. If you have a photo booth, if you have a polling feature, if you just have something off-site, and it doesn't necessarily even need to come with a built-in QR code, you can do a search, and that's exactly what I did for the one that's on my thing right now, on my profile right now. You can do a search for a free QR code converter, and just put whatever URL you want your guests to go to, into that that code converter, and then voila. Funny you ask about photo booths.
Yeah. Well, the next topic is about virtual photo booths.
You ask and you receive, Sherry.
So virtual photo booths are something that we have always been wanting to try here at Remo. We've gotten a couple of third-party sources. Actually, at our rebrand party, we did have a virtual photo booth there as well that we tried out. But I'm gonna take you through very quickly. Virtual photo booths, great ways to create shared experiences for your guests. Everybody's using the same backgrounds. You can collage all of your guests' virtual photo booth images together in one big picture. It gives your guests for them to keep. It generates so much excitement, so much buzz for your event. And I mean, they're just super fun. And of course, creates so much user-generated content and shareable content as well, so that all of your guests can then share on their own social media channels, through their own personal networks, and voila, your event is reaching people that aren't even in your event space currently as well. So as for a couple of links, here are a couple of the ones that we found that offer virtual photo booths. Now, we have not tried all of them. Disclaimer first, I think the one that we used was Air Booth Social, if I'm not mistaken, for the relaunch party, but we can double check with Yinka, who ran that event. But here are a couple of the ones that we found online. So you can shop around, see which ones you like, get quotes for prices and all of that. They are an additional cost that you would have to factor into your events. But it's just something to kind of layer on or add on to your events. And we can share these links after the masterclass as well. So don't worry if you're not able to get them down right now. But interactive presentations. This is probably one of my favorite things to talk about, because I love the tools that I'm going to present next. So, I mean, you don't really need to use tools to have interactive presentations. As Katrina showed you at the beginning, you can use Remo's Q&A to host a poll within the event space. You can invite your members of your audience up onto stage with you in presentation mode to talk with you. You can use the general chat to be a little bit more interactive. Like, there's lots of things that you can do inside of Remo without having to turn to third-party softwares. But if you do want to add an extra layer, you can kind of use these softwares to make it a little bit easier for your guests to interact in the actual presentation slides as well. So I'm going to take you through 3 of the tools that we've used before. So the first one is Aha Slides, and this is kind of my favorite, just because it's the most easiest for me to kind of figure out and use intuitively. But the best part is that they have both question and content slides. So you can actually have your presentations, create them in AHA Slides from the beginning, and then add in that layer of like having a poll in your event, having a word cloud in your event, having a little trivia game in the middle of your presentation as well. You can actually do all of that in AHA Slides as well. And they've got some fun emoji reactions. You can host Q&A sessions on there. So there's a lot of functionality with that tool. The second one is Slidoo. So they do live polls, they do live quizzes, they do Q&A sessions. The only thing that I think they don't as well as compared to AHA Slides is the content part of it. So you may need to use your actual PowerPoint presentations or your Google Slides and then pair them with Slidoo to actually add that layer of interaction. But one thing that Slidoo does do really well is, in my opinion, Slidoo looks a little bit more professional from the end users, from the guest standpoint. So if you are hosting an event that's kind of, say, for executives, or you want a little bit more of a professional feel for your event, you may want to look into Slidoo as the alternative. And then finally, there's the fun. Yes.
I was going to say, for those of you guys who are inside the Remo Revolution community, and for those of you who are members of the Superhost space, we did a Success Labs about AHA Slides, Slidoo. So if you want to see these demonstrated a little bit more fully, it is called interactive presentations. So inside, I don't know if this link will work if I put it in here, but it's a masterclass, or sorry, it's a Success Labs on interactive presentations.
I forgot.
Andy, right? Mentimeter is good. I know.
Yeah, Mentimeter is a good one as well.
So I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted, because we don't have time to demonstrate each of these today here, but there is a place where you can find that already, because we did it as a topic for Success Labs.
Yeah, and then the final one is Kahoot. So Kahoot was actually designed to be a trivia game software, so it's less so on the content side of it. It is more designed for kind of trivia games, but this one's a great fun platform to use if you are specifically just looking to host a trivia game in presentation mode in the middle of your presentation towards the end of your presentation. It's a little bit of a break for your guests as well, which actually is another good point. If you are hosting a very long event, you want to make sure that you're breaking up your presentation content into sizable, manageable chunks. Otherwise, people get lost, they're too overwhelmed with information, and they lose interest towards the end of it as well. So you want to make sure that you're kind of breaking up your presentation content. You know, think about like 20 minutes of content, 10 minutes of networking, or 10 minutes of a game, where they're not having to listen and actually like absorb a lot of deep, like useful, valuable content that you definitely don't want them to miss out on. All right. So live streaming options. Katrina, do you want to talk about this one?
I do. So there's a couple live streaming options. And to me, I've taught everyone internally that live stream is like the instant, like if anyone mentions the S word, this, like, I will warn you that this takes your event from like simple, possibly up to very complex in like 2.3 seconds, because there is a lot that goes into live streaming. And there are a lot of people, especially in here, like Andy and Matt, and I think possibly Greg, I think maybe you do this as well. But there is a lot of people in there. Live streaming is the best, but if you don't have an AV background, if you don't have a real tech background, if you don't have AV support, if your speakers don't, like, there are a few things that you need to know. For me, I fall in the less technical vein, and Tasneem falls in the highly technical vein, which is why we are joined together to form Katneem, because we complement each other very, very well. And she's taught me how to do this. But the simplest that I have found is Twitch. But you have to broadcast through Twitch Studio. Each of these things have their own positives and minuses. There are other things like OBS, which is Open Broadcast Streaming Systems. It's free. There is StreamYard. There is ManyCam, XCam. There's a bunch, and we talk about these inside the community. So if you're not in the community, again, big plug. But there are things that you can do. You can use the video billboard to stream content through. You can use a sponsor banner to stream content through. You can put it on your whiteboard. If you're using Descal, you have to embed it from connecting a URL. If you're in Miro, you can take the iframe code which is given to you as a share option with most of the larger entities. And the reason why I like Twitch, Matthew's the master at this. Matthew is one of the people who I've learned this from. The same thing with Simon over in the UK. If you're in the UK, Simon, I learned from him. Alex, I've asked Andy a million questions, so that's why I love the community. Matthew says Twitch is definitely the most intuitive. OBS does everything, and Vimeo Live Studios is the best for quality. The one thing, however, that I've found is if you are coming into Remo, Twitch gives your user volume control. The other ones, especially if you're coming in from the video billboard and potentially the sponsor banner, it does not give your guests audio control. So what happens is they're trying to talk to people at the table while something very loud is coming in and they can't figure out how to stop it or stop it down. The second thing is whenever you're at the conversation mode, if you have a lot of people at your table and they're not using headphones, you're going to get a feedback echo loop. So I recommend one person having the master volume on, and then the others kind of like muting it. Again, using Twitch, you can mute that volume so it's playing for everybody from like one person and you don't have that master feedback loop. So with that being said, I'm going to share my screen right now and show you an example. We discovered this, again, why I love Success Labs so much is that we discovered live streaming through sponsor banners during a question that came up in Success Labs. So Success Labs, it's called a lab because it's scientifically, we have a hypothesis, we go test it out. And this is what we found, is that a lot of folks are wondering how in conversation mode I can have like different groups who want to participate in a different presentation, be able to do that without going into presentation mode or create 15 different buildings. People who are doing live auctions and raffles, how can I get whatever's up next to be able to be viewed by everybody? You can stream it through a banner, a sponsor banner. So I'm going to show you just an example. And again, I'm hoping, okay, I got the right one. So I'm in conversation mode here, and I have a potential for all of these banners to be streaming. So right now I have it set up for this one. And it's going to take a second because I don't have a ton of, whoa, came up fast. But you can see right now that this is a live stream. I just picked a random, and here I can control the volume down. I can mute it. I can control it up. If I don't want it to play for me, I can hit pause, but that's kind of defeating the purpose of what this is for. But again, Twitch gives your user controls to be able to bring the volume up, to bring it down, to even mute it. That the other input mechanisms currently are not. They don't have this volume button in conversation mode. So this is a great way that you have people on every single floor, or you have people grouped together at a couple different tables and they want to participate in viewing the same thing. They can do this here. The other thing that we talked about is if you look at the Schmiggity's video, I really accidentally closed out the link that had the Schmiggity's video in it. Inside the community, we have a host who hosted a live concert. In the live concert, he had the band playing live through the left billboard, and at each table, he had an iPhone set up on a band member. That iPhone was just a person at the table broadcasting at the table, and they had their phone turned off. And so you had, each table had its own like special band cam. So if you sat at one table, you got to watch the lead singer. If you sat at another table, you watched the drummer. If you sat at another, you watched the bass player. And then in one room, they had a painter who was painting live to the music. So they were able to leverage the tables as a hop through so that you can choose your experience. And it made it more like a live in-person concert or a festival where everybody could choose which view they wanted. So at a live concert, you have a camera person and you have a person running the show choosing what close-up you're going to see on that back wall, or like the big large walls that show the concert goers, kind of what's going on at the festival goers. You actually have controls of that. So that's a couple of different ways that you can use live streaming, or that you can use the table cams to be able to give a further enhanced experience. So I will stop sharing this screen. And then on the whiteboard, like I said, the whiteboard, the video billboard, or the sponsor banners. I have inside my sponsor banner, I have it set to autoplay so that whenever somebody opens up the banner or when somebody opens up the video billboard, it autoplays. I do not recommend, if you're using the video billboard, to have it autoplay as people are first coming in, because they're coming in, they're getting oriented, and they're like, where is that music coming from and how can I stop it? I'm really overwhelmed right now. So I recommend, if you're going to have it, come up into presentation mode, or at least give some examples of, okay, you're about to hear music. This is how you mute it. This is how you turn it down. This is how you interact with it. If there's a loop at your table, go ahead and mute your camera. Like, give them some in the moment, right then, education about what's going to happen. Because the other thing is that we can send out education in advance and we can send out tutorial videos in advance, but a lot of times it does not make sense to our guests. If it is the first time they're coming into a new environment, they'll see it and they'll watch it, but it won't really settle in because they don't have context for it. So what I like to do is I also, inside my event, like to break down bit by bit, this is what's coming next and this is what you do. This is what's coming next and this is what you do. This is what's coming next and this is what you do. So that way it's really relative and they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And when we go back into conversation mode, I have that feed set up inside a sponsor banner that I've just added in the lower right-hand corner. So if you want to experience it for yourself, you will click on that sponsor banner. It is obviously the one that does not look like any of the others. So it doesn't look like it belongs here. I didn't have time to create one that says example. But you can test that out whenever we go back into conversation mode.
I do actually want to point out, so with the whiteboard, live streaming on the whiteboard, we did test this, and YouTube and Vimeo live streams do work, but Twitch live streams don't work on the whiteboard just now. So if you are looking to explore that one for your events, you might want to consider using YouTube Live or Vimeo Live in the meantime. And with that, that is the end of our ideas and Q&A.
The question is, Lindsay's asking, is that true for both Descal and Miro whiteboards?
Yes, it's true for both Descal and Miro whiteboards, yes. And
yeah, Matthew says that auto playing the music is entirely too common of an ask to negate, so we started streaming it at a more muted volume, so it's not in people's face and it mitigates any echoes and loops. And again, thank you for that, Matthew. Matthew, I think you have like a couple of, like, Matthew has a very high AV level. I do not. So for me, I don't have a, Matthew, I'm going to maybe invite you up here for a second to explain. Do you have like a switcher that you have the feed going into and that you can control that and then coming out, or like on StreamYard or ManyCam? For me, I'm just using just a straight Twitch, and I don't have a lot of those controls. So we're going to ask you to come up here if you're comfortable and explain that a little bit for us.
I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so that we can have everybody mentality first.
Oh, whilst Matthew's coming, let me, I'll share one, which is a good tool anyone.
That's interesting. We're going to get together about that.
It's Wheel of Names. So if you wanted to have a draw or invite people from the audience, it was created by Google as a way of deciding who speaks next in meetings. I don't know whether this is Google now, but basically you just copy and paste from participants. You could remove, hosts if you didn't want them, and you can just fire it across and go, oh, who's going to be next? And it's me. Yay! It's the only time I win anything. There is sound. I don't know whether you can hear it. I haven't got my sound set up. But then if you were doing a draw, you could then say remove and it'll drop that person off and you can draw the next prize as well. So it's all free. It's wheelofnames.com. And it's literally a copy and paste of the names from anything that you got. So it could be for sponsors. One thing I would say though is don't go crazy with it. I've seen to bring people up, and it gets a bit tiresome. You know, oh yeah, great, yeah, 3 or 4 is good for, but yeah, it's a free thing, so you know there's a few
Andy,
uses.
can you put the link? Oh, Wheel of Names right there, wheelofnames.com. So that's the link, Joanna, wheelofnames.com.
It's actually quite funny because Aha Slides also came up with a spinning wheel as well that they've built in as a question type in their platform as well. So like that one will also like automatically take the names off of all of the people that are participating in your Aha Slides live, and then it'll do it for them as well. But this is a great one as well if you're just looking to do that. Yeah.
I've still got a license for a bit.
I'll have to have Jacoby look up. I'll share it with you post event. We use another one just like that, but instead of Wheel of Names, I forget the name, but I'll send you the link post event. What's cool about that is you can literally copy and paste off your participants tab and run your raffles for winners that are only present in your event at the time. So we have that request from clients pretty often. So here's something I'm going to share out that our clients found extremely exciting about 2 weeks ago, because they went out, they wanted to put a little pizzazz on their raffle, and they talked to a bunch of agencies and a bunch of platforms, and everybody had a spinning wheel thing. And that's what they got. Like, here you go. So this is what we did. We took, and again, I'll share the link. I wish I could remember the name, but we copy and pasted we copied our participants tab, pasted it in the little wheel thingy, spun a name out, but we had already had set up in our StreamYard, and it was because of the learning curve with Vimeo Live Studio. So we definitely deep dived back into that, because I hadn't used Vimeo's live. I use Vimeo all the time, but I hadn't used their live studio. Anyway, we set up GIFs in our StreamYard. You can set up a whole string of panels on there. It's like $50 a month for the package you need. But we set up a string of GIFs, ran it through the Vimeo, ran the Vimeo through here. That did create a 14-second delay. So what I did is I controlled all the buttons. I just clicked the GIFs. And so we'd click like a guy spinning a bunch of bingo balls or whatever. And then we would click like a winner GIF, like, yay. Like we had Bugs Bunny doing a dance and stuff like that. And in StreamYard, you can put the winner's name. You can run a banner with their name right over the top. So we'd have like Bugs Bunny dancing and like Sarah McGillen won. And then I'd do the spinny ball thing. And the delay, audience never even noticed. I let my MC know beforehand, hey, there's a 14-second delay. None of this go back stuff. Like we're on a track here. And because again, we set it all up very last minute for this client. They really wanted to put some pizzazz like last minute. So we didn't have a lot of time to workshop that delay down or anything. If you run from StreamYard to Vimeo to Remo, you're going to hit, it's 14 seconds. It's consistent. It's exactly 14 seconds. But anyway, yeah, and that was amazing. And so our client was very, very happy, and we were able to put forward like that really cool front face rather than that let us stand aside and stand out from other agencies. So I love that the opportunity to share that with our other Remo agencies, because we can very much as a platform, and as we represent this platform predominantly, I know all of us predominantly represent and prefer to work with Remo. So as a platform, that's a niche we're at right now. So share that out with your clients. Get that, you know, make that their raffle snap and pop, because it's a demand right now in that market that they're not finding filled appropriately. So all the different things we can think of to make that better is going to make our agencies and this platform just get that much more market share. So, woo! Thank you, Andy, for like opening the door to all of that. That was wonderful. Thank you.
And Matthew, if you could for 1 second, can you share when we were talking about streaming and about controlling volume, do you have a separate mixer that you're feeding your sound through?
We do for most of our clients, especially our boutique clients, because they want that exact levels. There is a much more low tech option on Vimeo when you upload your video. Like Twitch doesn't have it, YouTube doesn't have it. but on your Vimeo Pro package, you can do the volume when you're doing the upload on the video there. And so that's what we do. We usually set it down to about 20%, like a nice little almost elevator music volume, or like a piano bar if you're thinking that kind of volume. So when they come in, they hear that music, but it's not like boom, how do I turn this off? It's like, oh, that's music where I don't want to hear that music. Yeah. Where am I? It just gives them a minute to orient themselves a little bit more. I want to test through. I love your whiteboard thing. I totally forgot we tried that with YouTube last year and it didn't work back then, and obviously because it was YouTube. But thank you so much for yeah, I had completely even forgotten that, and now we're gonna start workshopping ways to get a custom RTMP to land. I'm pretty sure we can do it with Descal. I'm pretty sure it can't be done with Miro because some of the embed stuff, like the casino night, the flea markets and trade shows and stuff, that's why we fight for Descal so hard, because you can't do those embeds with Miro. They say you can. You're supposed to contact them every single time. They haven't hit us. It's been 14 days. It's been like they haven't. So we haven't been able to test that functionality with them for y'all. But with Descal, it is possible. And we're going to try and see if we can get a custom RTMP to land on Descal, and that would let you take Vimeo Live Studio or StreamYard or OBS or any of that and just get it to land on the whiteboard without having to stream through the Vimeo or YouTube. Yeah. And so that would just obviously open up so much more function for everybody. But yeah, that's how we do that. Low tech is Vimeo. Let you upload the video at a lower volume. You have to do it when you upload. You can't adjust it down after it's uploaded, but you can upload it at that volume. And then high tech, just like you said, there's a number of mixers out there. There's a number of free ones. I'll be happy to share. We actually use a couple of them for different scenarios, so I'll be happy to share that out. But you can definitely stream through. It helps with your live presentations because some people's mics get really loud and really. We have one mixer that lets us do like each person's mic and stuff. But yeah, so thank you so much. Was it? I do have to run in about 10 minutes. We're starting another event. We're hosting another event. Is there anything else I can share or anything like that before I do have to jump?
That was perfect. And like I said, you can find any one of us who shared today, who've been really experienced in how to do these things. You can find us inside the Remo Revolution community. Matthew is very active. Andy is very active. There are other individuals there. And inside the Remo Revolution community, if you have a question, you can always do a keyword search, because we've had discussions around these things built into the community for a year now, because the community is turning 1. It's our first birthday. So there is a lot of great information already in the community, and all you have to do is a keyword search for it. So with that, I'll turn things over back to Tasneem.
That is actually everything. Does anybody have any last questions before we close out presentation mode?
So as a friendly reminder, please join the Remo Revolution community if you're not. If you're a page scriber, there is a secondary hidden private area called Superhosts that will give you access to Success Labs, where we all talk about some of these things. This is where we learn about how to use at the advanced level, or talk very specific for use cases and figure out what everybody else is doing. So it's a really good roundtable discussion area, and it's a great way to get spun up very quickly on how to use Remo for certain things. The other aspect of things, I'm not sure if you want to take over on this one, is a couple of the events that we have coming up.
Oh, yes. Okay. So in about an hour or so, we have an event that Katrina is going to run again with Aaron, who's on our marketing team, and they're going to talk all about networking and how you can get better connections for your guests during your event. So Aaron's going to talk about it from more of a guest perspective, how guests can create these meaningful connections with each other. And then Katrina, you're going to share more about, from the host perspective, how you can facilitate and encourage those connections as well. So that's starting in about an hour, 30 minutes?
About 40 minutes.
About 40 minutes from now. So yes, we can get you the link for that. Katrina, do you have that link?
I don't, but I can get it really quickly. I just have to figure out what tab I'm in right now, and then.
All right. So while Katrina's doing that, on the 28th of June, we actually do have another event that Yinka, our other colleague on the marketing team, is running, and she's doing an actual panel. And they just posted this in the community as well. So I'm going to read from the community what this whole panel is going to be about. It is loading. Yes, so their panel is going to be about how you can host virtual events that maximize your return on investment. So talking about like sponsors and how you can get them, as well as making sure that the virtual events that you are running are creating investments for your business as well. So they're going to be a panel discussion. So that's going to include Yinka. It's going to include Kimberly Bone, Georgianne Gettin McKinney, Sue Sutcliffe, and Jad Goldsmith. So all of these people are in our community as well. So you can talk to them, and I will get the link and send that to you as well. And then finally, to end our lovely month of June, as Katrina did mention, our Remo Revolution community is turning 1 year old. So we are hosting a little bit of a party to celebrate kind of the 1 year of learning, collaborating, and growing. And just as Matthew pointed out, you know, this is a community. We're all helping each other. We're all learning from each other. I know I've learned a lot from a lot of the people that are in the community, teaching me about all these cool live streaming hacks and sharing videos through your welcome messages, and all of these cool tips and tricks and workarounds that they've experimented with and played around with in their events. So to kind of celebrate that whole full year of learning, growing, collaborating, sharing, all the synonyms there, we're throwing a little bit of a party. June 30th at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing that link. 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and that is going to be open to everybody. You do not need to be a community member to join, but of course, we are going to invite you to join the community if you do come for that. We've also got a bunch of raffle prizes that lovely people from our Remo marketplace have contributed as well as some gifts that Remo is sponsoring. So we're going to have some raffles in the event. We're also going to have some raffles before the event in the community. So if you cannot make it live, you can still participate, you can still enjoy, you can still stand the chance to win those prizes just by answering a couple of our questions that we're going to be posting for the rest of this week and early next week as well. We also do have a live digital illusionist or magician coming to perform, and I have seen the tech rehearsal and I am already blown away and I cannot wait for the live performance. So please come see all the cool tricks that this magician is going to have. He's a super interactive magician as well, so you can be on stage, you can actually participate in the tricks, and it's going to be a very, very fun experience. So I will post the link in the general chat for that. Katrina, am I missing any of the other events?
Nope. And then we are going to start coordinating our schedule more on a quarterly basis. So you guys will be able to see what we have planned for you a quarter out. But we are also looking for your input. So if there's something that you would like to see a masterclass on, if there's something that you'd like to see an event based around to learn how to facilitate something or to like what we did today. Everything that I try to do is vegetables inside the cake to have it a fun experience for you so you can walk away with learning things. Just let us know. Hit us up inside the community and let us know what topics you would like to see. And a lot of the things we're going to try to do is based around what folks are asking for, and then around certain themes for each quarter. So we're going to be looking at doing hybrids because we know that hybrids are going to, people are going to be, initially what we're thinking is that people are going to be like, oh my God, I just went in person because I'm tired of like not seeing people. And then they're going to see people and they're like, I'm tired of seeing people. Can we just go back to hybrid, please? So we're going to be focusing on hybrids. We're going to be focusing on floor plans. We're going to be focusing on streaming. So those seem to be the big needs for this next coming quarter. So anything that you guys have that you want to see, please reach out to us inside the community and we will be happy to set some of these things up. And then if you do want to try, I do have the live stream set up down in the conversation mode inside one of the banners as well, if you want to just test that practically.
All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming to today's masterclass. Hopefully there were a lot of cool ideas and tips that maybe you hadn't thought of before. sparked a couple of new ideas. If you guys have any cool tips and things that you've played around with for upping the engagement and interaction at your event, I would love to hear them as well. Post them in the community. We can start some discussions, start some threads around them, and we can all learn from each other. So thank you all so much.
If I could take 1 second, for anybody who's watching this video on replay, I do just want to explain what you didn't see at the conversation mode in the very beginning is that as people came in, we used the announcements feature to put very specific questions in to the announcements, and that drove people either to the left or the right-hand side of the event. So we just got the pop-up that 2 minutes is going to happen. So if you guys have questions, if you're watching this video and you have any questions, please reach out to Tasneem and me, myself, and we will be able to be very happy to answer the questions you have.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day.